She kissed a complete stranger in the middle of Accra's busiest street. Desperate, terrified. It was either that or get shoved into a van by two men who'd been following her for 20 minutes. What she didn't know? That stranger owned half the buildings she could see from where she stood. Amma had only been in Accra for 3 days. She'd traveled from Kumasi for a job interview at a marketing firm in Osu, staying with a distant cousin who worked night shifts and was rarely home. On this particular afternoon, she decided to explore the city, walking through the crowded streets of Makola Market with her phone in hand, snapping photos of the vibrant fabrics and street food vendors. She didn't notice them at first. Two men in casual clothes, nothing remarkable about them, blending into the sea of shoppers and hawkers. But when she turned down a quieter side street looking for a shortcut back to the main road, she felt it, that prickling sensation at the back of her neck that tells you something's wrong. Amma glanced over her shoulder. They were closer now, walking with purpose, their eyes locked on her. Her heart began to race. She quickened her pace, weaving between pedestrians, but every time she looked back, they were still there, maintaining the same distance, like predators stalking prey. Panic set in when one of them pulled out his phone and made a call, his eyes never leaving her. Amma's mind raced through her options. She was in an unfamiliar part of the city, her cousin wasn't answering her phone, and the street was getting less crowded with every step. She spotted a white van pulling up ahead, sliding along the curb at exactly the pace she was walking. That's when she knew. This wasn't random. This was coordinated. Her breathing became shallow. The stories flooded back, the warnings her mother had given her about human trafficking in big cities, about young women who disappeared and were never found. She looked around desperately for help, but everyone seemed absorbed in their own world, headphones in, conversations ongoing, oblivious to her terror. Then she saw him, a man in an expensive-looking navy suit, standing outside a cafe, checking his watch. He looked important, safe, the kind of person criminals might think twice about confronting. Without thinking, without planning, purely on instinct and desperation, Amma ran straight toward him. Before he could react, before she could second-guess herself, she grabbed his face and kissed him. His body went rigid with shock. For a moment, the entire world seemed to pause. But Amma didn't pull away. She couldn't. She pressed closer, her hands trembling against his shoulders, her eyes squeezed shut, praying this stranger wouldn't push her away and leave her exposed to whatever those men had planned. Then she felt it. His hand, gentle but firm, settling on the small of her back. He was kissing her back, not with confusion or anger, but with an unexpected tenderness that almost made her forget this was all an act. When she finally pulled back, gasping for air, she whispered urgently against his ear, her voice breaking with fear. "Please don't let me go. There are men following me. I think they're trying to take me." The man's expression shifted instantly. The surprise vanished, replaced with something sharp and assessing. His eyes scanned the street over her shoulder, and Amma saw his jaw tighten. "How many?" he asked quietly, his voice calm but commanding. "2. They've been following me for blocks. There's a van." He didn't hesitate. Still holding her close, he pulled out his phone with one hand and made a call. "Kofi, I'm at the cafe on Liberation Road. I need security here now. 2 suspects, possibly armed, white van, license plate." He paused, his eyes narrowing as he spotted the vehicle. "GS 4782-20. Alert the police. Yes, now." Amma's eyes widened. Who was this man who could mobilize security with a single phone call? Within minutes, 3 black SUVs appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Serious-looking men in dark suits emerged, moving with military precision. The 2 men who'd been following Amma tried to blend back into the crowd, but they were cut off, cornered, and within seconds restrained. The van tried to speed away, but was blocked by one of the SUVs. Amma watched in stunned disbelief as the scene unfolded like something from a movie. The stranger kept his arm around her shoulders, steady and reassuring, while speaking rapid instructions into his phone in a mixture of English and Twi. When the immediate threat was neutralized, he finally turned his full attention to her. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" She shook her head, still trembling. "No, I didn't know what else to do. I'm sorry, I just kissed you like that. I was terrified." For the first time, a small smile touched his lips. That was quick thinking. Dangerous, but quick. "I'm Kwame." "Ama," she managed, her voice still shaky. The police arrived shortly after, and Kwame stayed with her throughout the entire process, giving statements, ensuring she had water, making sure she wasn't alone for a single moment. It was only when one of the officers addressed him as Mr. Mensah with deep reverence that Amma began to realize this wasn't just any helpful stranger. Later, after the statements were given and the men were taken away, Kwame insisted on driving her back to her cousin's place. It was in his car, a sleek Mercedes with leather seats and a driver who called him sir, that she finally asked, "Who are you really?" He glanced at her, that slight smile returning. "I'm just someone who happened to be in the right place at the right time." People don't mobilize private security teams and have police officers treating you like royalty just because they happen to be somewhere. Kwame was quiet for a moment. "My family has been in Accra for generations. We invest in real estate, hospitality, some tech ventures. I spend most of my time trying to make the city safer, actually, which is why what happened to you today?" He paused, his expression darkening. "It can't keep happening." Over the following weeks, as Amma recovered from the trauma and started her new job, she learned the full truth. Kwame Mensah's family didn't just invest in real estate, they owned significant portions of Accra's commercial districts. The cafe where she'd kissed him, his family owned the entire building. The hotel visible from that corner, also his. The new shopping complex being built 3 blocks away, his company's project. But what struck her most wasn't his wealth, it was what he did with it. Kwame had been working with law enforcement and NGOs for years, funding initiatives to combat human trafficking, installing security cameras in vulnerable areas, training community watch groups. The men who'd targeted Amma were part of a larger network he'd been helping to dismantle. He'd been receiving death threats for months because of this work, and yet, on that day, when a terrified stranger had literally thrown herself at him, he hadn't hesitated to put himself at risk to protect her. They stayed in touch, first as friends, then as something more. Amma would tease him about their unconventional first kiss, and Kwame would remind her that she'd literally taken his breath away. But the real lesson came months later, when Amma asked him why he'd been so willing to help that day, why he continued fighting against systems that threatened him. Kwame looked at her seriously and said something she would never forget. "We all have power in different measures. Some of us have money, some have influence, some just have their voice and their courage. That day, you had the courage to save yourself by trusting a stranger. I had the resources to make sure you stayed safe. If either of us had turned away from the moment, had decided it wasn't our problem, the outcome would have been different. We're all responsible for each other, whether we admit it or not." Those words changed how Amma saw everything. She began volunteering with the organizations Kwame supported, using her marketing skills to raise awareness, to help other young women recognize danger signs, to build networks of safety in communities. The men who targeted her were prosecuted. Their network was exposed, leading to the rescue of 17 other victims, all because one terrified young woman had the courage to ask for help, and one powerful man had the integrity to give it without hesitation. Sometimes Amma thinks about that moment, standing on Liberation Road, making an impossible choice driven by pure survival instinct. She'd kissed a stranger to escape kidnappers, not knowing he owned half the city. But the real fortune wasn't his wealth. It was finding someone who understood that having power means nothing if you don't use it to protect those who have less. If you found this story moving, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment telling us what you would have done in Amma's situation. And remember, we all have the power to be someone's answered prayer in their darkest moment. The question is, will we choose to be?